Hello there, kids, squids, and octolings, and welcome to the playoff stage of the Transatlantic Splatoon League, where four teams remain competing for the title as the first Transatlantic champion. I'm K-Bot, and I'm joined today by some of the brightest minds in Splatoon to help break down the action and bring it to you the best way we can. For the first segment today, I'm joined by Nine, Prodigy, and Sendo. We'll hear from them more later. In October and November of 2020, 10 of the best competitive Splatoon teams in the West were invited to compete in a round-robin league. After 17 matches and 112 games of Splatoon, the regular season concluded with Starburst taking first in the North America division after convincing 5-2 victory over FT Win, Freeze dominating the European division to take first, and Rift advancing with their Week 3 win over Radiance in 9 games. Today, those top four teams are competing in a single elimination bracket, where the first seed of each region plays against the second seed of the opposing region in semifinals. We've got 3 matches today, and we'll be getting to the first one, Starburst versus Rift, at the bottom of the hour. Of course, there is a ton to break down in terms of what happened in this second season of the Transatlantic Splatoon League. And obviously, we've only got a couple of minutes to do it. So I want to turn to my analysts here, starting with Nine, one of the casters for the league over the course of it. What was your most surprising takeaway out of TASL's second season?
Well, the format that we used all throughout TASL and that I thought was really interesting, I thought maybe it would have given the teams an opportunity to change up their comps more. For those of you who may not be familiar with TASL, it was best of nines, and the teams did get to choose their maps, or at least the maps that they wanted to play on in their counterpick section. But I think that we saw much the opposite. I think the teams that tried to change things up a lot really found themselves in a bad spot. And the teams that kind of stuck to their guns, no pun intended, the entire time ended up getting the victories. So, so often when we talk about Splatoon, we think in terms of weapons and in terms of comps. And I think that over the course of TASL, we saw that sometimes it is better to stick with what you know and just outplay the opponent.
A lot of times, I think it is that comfort advantage sometimes that some players might take for granted every once in a while as we go through things. Prodigy, you were, of course, coach for Slaughterhouse, one of the teams that played on the North American division. What was your reaction to maybe the North American division, what you saw out of the European division as well?
Yeah, so to break down to the both divisions, for me, it was the dominance on the EU side of Freeze. Freeze has always been a really strong team, but this is, I think, their first event where they've really kind of broken out and been kind of heads and shoulders, really kind of showing that they're ahead of everyone else right now. So that was really fun to see and really interesting to watch, to see how they've developed over this past year. And on the NA side of thing, I would say it's the lack of domination by any one individual team. We're so used to seeing FT Win just come into these things and just kind of, it's FT Win, it's championship, part of the bracket, the top 16, top 8. All right, FT Win's in top form. That's what always happens. But either due to the nature of the format or whatever, they weren't quite there. And a lot of the top teams, actually, Starburst was dropping a lot of games here and there. So even though they won, their matches and they're coming in the first seed, just there isn't that kind of dominant performance by any team right now.
And I think there's, a lot that we can say on not only the games that Starburst dropped, also FT Win going a couple of roster tribulations, and we'll get to all that, I think, later as we start recapping some of the teams. But Sendo, you are also a player in the European division on Usual Guys. And not to mention the guy that kind of brought this league together in the first place. So how did the league play out from your perspective?
Well, you're talking about surprises. I'd say the way the league started was probably the biggest surprise for me, because usually when you try to make a thing like this happen, then you always have a couple teams that are not going to be able to make it. But this time, actually, every team I asked was able to make it. So that's the one way to make a really special event come true. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, it's been really fun to see it shape up, and all the teams have been doing some really insane work throughout the whole season. That's probably my biggest surprise has been that every team has had some surprises. So when you think about as an organizer point of view, you kind of try to see the teams in a way where, okay, you kind of expect this team to probably sweep everyone, right? But there was not really anything like that in the end. I was expecting maybe Radiance and FT Win to sweep their respective groups, and neither thing happened. So maybe kind of this whole thing, how nice it has been to see it play out has been like my general takeaway here.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate your remarks, this doesn't happen without the support of the players in the first place. So we'll go through thank yous as we try to end the stream here. But props to the players for coming together and really rallying around TASL. I think a lot of players were motivated to perform well, still are motivated heading in today for the top 4 in order to perform well, in order to take the title here. Because there is a lot riding here, especially in terms of pride, in terms of this league, overall. Yeah, for me, really, I think that was a good summary from all of you guys. Sendo, you talked about it a little bit, but I think for me, one of the things that kind of stood out was Radiance's performance. A lot of people were expecting Radiance to be probably the top coming out of Europe, and they couldn't quite make it this time around, especially riding high off of their good performance in Inkstorm. Taking the silver medal there, I believe. My memory serves me correctly. That shows you, how scatterbrained I've been. The same team, same players took second in Inkstorm, beating FT Win numerous times, and now they don't even get a chance to play FT Win in playoffs after losing to, Rift's sort of aggressive playstyle, losing to some of these more lockdown situations from Freeze. And we can talk a little bit more about that, as we go further along here and start previewing some of our teams. But that's one of the things that, really stood out to me here. Perhaps it won't always play out as you expect it to. With all that, of course, folks, as I mentioned, first of all, welcome if you're just joining us. This is the Transatlantic Splatoon League playoffs, and we'll be getting to matches starting with Starburst versus Rift at the bottom of the hour, 12:30 Eastern time. That match will start up. So we've got a lot of time here. Start getting you familiar with the teams that you're going to be seeing today, and provide some insights here from the rest of the analyst desk. As we start heading into talking about some of these teams, they're not really in any particular order, but we're going to start out with FT Win, and we actually have a nice little interview video to show you all. Melissa, or Acid Sunshine, got to sit down with some of the players last weekend to get their thoughts heading into playoffs this weekend. We'll be airing some of those interviews in just a little bit. So, yeah, we'll try to do just that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And now I have the wonderful Shaq with me. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. So, first question for you. How does it feel 3 months after your retirement to be back playing Splatoon?
Honestly, it feels really nice. I really missed playing the game. I've been really busy with school and everything. That's why I haven't been playing. And then I don't know, being able to hang out with my friends, because like I've been teaming with these guys for 2 years now. It's more than just like a team for me. They're like my family. So like I haven't been able to hang out with them, but playing Splatoon lets me do that. So it's just really nice being able to like hang out with these guys and compete.
Yeah, especially in the pandemic right now, you have
Yeah.
something to be able to get close to your family that are
Yeah.
far away. Good. I'm glad. Well, welcome back. It's great to have you back
Thank
as
you.
well.
Thank you
How
so
do you
much.
think your team feels to be the only team running anchorless style?
I wouldn't say we feel any particular way about it. We've been kind of doing this for 2 years now. I think that's when we initially parted ways with Ice, and we haven't been playing an anchor for, over 2 years almost. So I'd say we're pretty used to it, and we're just comfortable playing like that. So I don't think we feel like nervous or anything because all the other teams have an anchor, but really just confidence because we were playing how we've been playing for the past 2 years.
I think that's one of my favorite things about watching you all play is your confidence, and it comes through in your play style, and you can always see that you look like you're having fun.
Yeah.
So your first opponents are your former scrim partners, Freeze. How do you think the team's going to fare against them?
Honestly, I don't know. We've been scrim partners for like all of summer, but we
Mhm.
haven't really played them at all since I left.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the rest of the team specifically, but I haven't really played against the entirety of Freeze. I've played against maybe like a pickup with Lucera Z and Creamy, but besides that, I'm not really sure what to expect, honestly. Like, I haven't seen them around too much, so maybe they haven't been practicing as much, but like I said, we're still just as confident as ever.
So this is K-Bot's fun question. He said CDS or K-Shot.
Okay, K-Bot's doing this because I always tweet about never getting on the Tech player like list of the best Tech players. So he's thinking maybe I'll choose CDS, but I'm still gonna choose K-Shot. I want to put it out there, please. If you're gonna make a T-Tech tier list, you can put me on there. You know, I don't have to be number 1. I could be like 4 or 5. I just want to be on the list. Sometimes, like I see like, oh, there's like Kiver, Zero. Zero doesn't play the game anymore. He's still on the list, okay? And then like all of a sudden there's a guy from solo queue in there, and it's like I play the game too. Like I play T-Tech, I play K-Shot, you know. So like maybe in the future, if you guys could put me on there, I'd appreciate that.
I think that's a really good call out there. I'd love to see the tier list with you on it as well.
Thank you. Me too.
Tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Okay, so we got 5HAK_ Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everything.
LinkedIn.
That's a lie.
What's...
No, that's a lie. That's a lie.
What's your LinkedIn say?
It's just Twitch and Twitter. Yeah, 5HAK_. It's Shaq, but some people call me 5hack to spite me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shaq. And thank you all for joining me today. I am so excited to have the chance to interview all these players. Back to you, K-Bot.
Feed to Win is known for their consistency as the top of North America, whose legacy consists of representing the region at the Splatoon World Championship twice in a row. The team showed signs of weakness during the season, though, losing their final set versus Starburst, as well as dropping games to your Slaughterhouse Prodigy. So what are the weaknesses, as we take a look at this team card, what are the kind of weaknesses that you're looking for in FT Win?
So first and foremost, FT1's still a very strong team, right? So, you're comparing these to, some of the best teams, in North America. That being said, I feel like, comparing them to when they're playing with Shaq versus when they're playing without Shaq is really the key point here, especially because their two key kind of characteristic traits is their teamwork ability and their slaying power. And when you don't have Shaq there, you don't have someone that's been a leader for the team, as well as someone that goes head first into enemy lines with Keo. So you kind of lose both of those aspects. So I think that's been kind of a key performance in how some of these matches played out going into the regular season. But now Shaq is back for the playoffs. So it's going to be something that we're going to have to look out for.
Of course, you mentioned Shaq is back for these playoffs. And 9, as someone who's casted numerous of FT Win's grand performances in finals, what is it about the magic of this team that's so special?
Well, I mean, it's a pedigree. When you're on the stage so many times, eventually it starts to feel like just another day at the office. And there is something to be said for the composure that comes with that sort of experience. But the other thing to note is that this team has, even from the very first tournament they played, they have a very formulaic philosophy about the way they want to play the game, right? They understand that all of their players are very good at identifying where the gaps in the opponent's defenses are. These small little openings that some players might not even see, they are able to move into very quickly. And the way that they've built their roster and their play style is to empower that. At the beginning, they started with Ice, who is one of, if not the most mobile and active backliners, who we'll see on another team today. But even all the way back then, they clearly wanted to be an active team that's always influencing the map around them. And when that core is back together and all well practiced, which is another key part of this, they're able to move around and make the very difficult team plays look so easy, because that's how they've always played.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that FT Win squad coming from behind here after their loss in the regular season, week 6 to Starburst, which is the next team we're going to spend a little bit more time on. Of course, you mentioned Ice being on this roster 9, or on a different team. Ice is playing for Starburst here, so as well, known for really leading some of these teams to victory from the back lines. And, before the Transatlantic Splatoon League, a lot of people were probably considering Starburst to be a very firm second. But this crew finds themselves in first, after that TASL victory. Sendo, I'll go to you here. How surprising is it to you, as we take a look at this team card, that this roster was able to make it out of this division in first place?
Yeah, of course, like when I think about like I'm the one who seeded the team, so I did of course seed them behind after win, which I think pretty much everyone would have done based on the previous results. But then again, like when I come back to it, I'm not that surprised at the results in the end, because when you look at their roster, like they have so many like strong lineup when you think about Brand, Jared, and Ice. It's like such a strong individual lineup that when things fall into place, they're just gonna do some incredible work, and that's like what I'm watching today as well. Is that how they can make those individual skill like play out against like some of the players that match up their individual skill, and see how it goes out for them.
Yeah, a lot of these players with very talented individual skills. And one of the things to note on that point is, kind of Starburst's unique, a little bit more unique weapon selection. We're seeing a couple of picks that don't exactly come in all the time. For example, sometimes Ans will go back to the foil squeezer. Sometimes Brand's kind of default is the L3D, not a 10 attack that we're used to seeing. So, Prod, I'll turn to you here. I know Slaughterhouse, all of these ass teams in North America, man. Anyway, I know Slaughterhouse was one of those really large proponents of the bubble blower here. So maybe looking towards Ant, also looking towards Brand's L3D play. Is that what the doctor ordered?
No, I did not order anything. Dear, I don't know. No. Okay. So Starburst to me is a team that probably plays more what they love to play rather than sticking directly to the meta, and making what they play work. So they find, they basically say, hey, we're a group of friends and we like to play these weapons. And rather than, changing weapons to meet each other, let's change each other to meet these weapons. And they're not quite to the level of a well-known pickup roster, I guess, technically in NA of Bowcut, where they don't go out of their way to pick weird weapons. They just pick weapons that they like. So, and that they're used to using and kind of known for it, right? So I think that's really what they do. And I certainly did not tell them to play anything. No.
All right. Well, now as we turn our attention more towards the European division, we'll start out with Rift. And this new French roster is a team that's really been looking to make a statement here early in, their lifespan and early in this league overall. We had, obviously, FLC, as you probably saw on our talent graphic, will be joining us later. But he also sat down to do a little bit of a overview and synopsis of Rift's play style. We'd like to air that for you now, along with some clips from their regular season performance.
Rift are the European underdogs coming into the TASL Top 4 playoffs. A team of very strong individual players, they're more than capable of holding their own against any of the players that we're fighting today. Throughout the group stage, they've showed us that if they can get their momentum going, their aggression and playmaking is second to none. The problem for Rift is that this playmaking ability comes at a cost. Most of the time, the reason their aggression is so strong is because they're overextending in order to cover ground faster. Then, they rely on their top-notch mechanics to fight their way out of any bad situations they might put themselves in. The match against Freeze, for example, showed that when they're up against a team who either doesn't give them the fights that they want, or is able to stand up to them mechanically, Rift's pushes crumble easily, and their lackluster defensive setups are exposed as a result. Not only that, but even when Rift does manage to hold the enemy team at bay, their rush to get across the map and restart their own aggression leaves large amounts of their own base still painted in enemy turf, meaning that any future pushes that the enemy team makes are even more effective the next time around. Against Freeze in the group stage, cooler heads prevailed and they were handed a decisive 5-1 loss. But for this semi-finals, they're fighting against the first seed from North America, Starburst, whose sights are set on a rematch with FT Win in the Grand Finals. Rift's aggression is dangerous, and while they do leave themselves vulnerable to counterattacks, any team who fights them needs to be very disciplined on defense in order to prevent them from snowballing. A single misstep is all that Rift needs to make deep scoring runs. If Starburst treats this match as a foregone conclusion, they might just be giving Rift exactly the openings they need to steal this set.
Thank you, FLC, for that quick review. Sendo, let me turn to you here. You've been scrimming Rift. You guys didn't actually play during the TASL regular season, but I'm sure you've been scrimming Rift as they've been preparing for these playoffs. How does it feel to play against Rift's doubling jet style?
Yeah, so of course, Rift an interesting team for me because, of course, played a long time with Erisa, so I know him as a player pretty well. Also, I've been playing with Soxe quite a bit, and maybe with Second and Alex I quite frequently as opponents. So, I mean, I think Rift is very like, no, it's like kind of like nothing fancy kind of team, Like, I saw like some guys posting clips on Twitter, and then someone's like, "Oh, you're leaking the comps," and that's kind of like the joke with Rift. Like they just play whatever, and then they make it work. So it's kind of like the team that is very very like oppressive to play when they're playing at their very best. So of course, like some of the very best like slayers in the West, like when think about Second, like he's also like pro, like they're like top level slayer if he wants to play that role, but no, they have him on support because they just have like too much of that aggressiveness. So to me, that's pretty much like sums up Rift.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not much here. What you see is basically what you get out of this Rift team. And real quick here, we're running out of time a little bit, so want to move on to our final team of Freeze. And Rift's only loss, of course, was to Freeze. Their first place out of Europe, only lost 3 games over the course of the entire season. Freeze also has 4-star individual performers, with Zeras and Mika having the first and second highest KDA statistics in the league. Sendo, what is it about Freeze playstyle that makes them so successful?
Yeah, so Free is another pretty familiar team for me. Been playing them with quite a bit, and also like sometimes picking up with them and so on. And yeah, it's a team with a lot of confidence. So I don't think they're coming into this feeling pretty confident, and why wouldn't they after such a strong performance in the groups? And yeah, it's a kind of team that has a really strong front line. Then you just if you get past them, then Zera gets a quad. I don't know. That's like Freeze to me. Like it's an incredible team, and if they're playing at their very best, it's gonna be very hard for anyone to challenge. But that's probably my biggest question: is that after maybe a bit of a break from their regular practice, like how fast were they able to get back up to speed? And I guess we're gonna see in a second.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, a lot of people have Freeze as favorites today overall. Is there any way that one of their opponents can try to raise the temperature in the room on them, so to speak? Prod, I'll turn to you for that.
Why do I have to be the pun guy?
Why
not? So yes, FLC again in his analysis video of breakdown of Freeze kind of alluded to this idea that Freeze makes you think that they're not ready for a fight, but they are. So you have to go into each fight assuming that they are actually ready to take that fight on, and you kind of have to play from that mindset. And even then, you're still guessing because you still have to figure out what little piece are they kind of have hidden up their sleeve. So if people have been able to adapt in the downtime between the regulars and to the playoffs here, that's what you're really going to be having to look out for.
All right. Well, of course, we'll be seeing from Freeze a little bit later.